Hi there, everyone. I'm at a particularly challenging and in some ways strange point in my YouTube career, and I'm not quite sure what to do, which way I should go in order to overcome the current obstacles. So I felt compelled to make this video an open format kind of video. There's a few reasons why I wanted to do this. First is that I have this sense that it's going to be good to do an open type video with you all because I value honesty and trust so much. So it seems like I'm serving those principles in making this video. And secondly, there's a chance that something that I say might help somebody else who's dealing with frustration or who's uncertain about how to overcome some life challenges. So if something that I say ends up helping you or letting you know that you're not alone, whatever way that it could help, that definitely makes it worthwhile for me. And thirdly, making this is going to help me because it's going to let me get all of these thoughts out of my head and to organize them a little bit better. Plus, I'll get your feedback, and that sort of constructive feedback is always helpful for me when I go and read the comments on the videos. This video is going to go to some very dark and difficult places, I anticipate, but I think I need to do this. So please bear with me, and please have faith that this is ultimately going to lead to somewhere positive. So this has been a very difficult year for me. I'm sure I'm not alone in that boat. I was hit with horrendous shipping costs for my book, my D&D book, and I've been sick again and again and again. I've just had this slew of different colds and flus, and I had COVID as well. And you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm actually dealing with an illness now, and my nose and my head is all plugged up. But I gotta press on. My son is in the terrible twos. If you have children, you'll know exactly what this means. He has turned into a wild, savage beast, and he cries and he fusses all the time. And I love him dearly, but there are times where you feel like you are going to just go run out of the house screaming. I have not done that yet, fortunately. My wife has been dealing with some major emotional issues. They stem from childhood trauma, but it's compounded with some major hardships we've dealt with this year. At the beginning of the year, she had, and thus we had, an ectopic pregnancy, and we had to go to the hospital, and she had to do an emergency surgery to remove one of her fallopian tubes, and we lost our second child to be, who was not quite 2 months along. His or her heart was already beating, and we were so much looking forward to this new life, and we lost him or her, and that was one of the worst and hardest things that I've ever gone through, and that devastated us. And to make things even worse, a few months later, she went through, thus we went through, practically back-to-back miscarriages. My channel has hit 100,000 subscribers this year, which that's incredible. That's a milestone that I've been striving toward for so long, for years and years. And yet at the same time, my views are down, and my views are really, really low. I'm not quite sure why. Well, I have some ideas, but I don't know exactly why. And I know a lot of other YouTubers have been saying similar things, so I know it's not just me. But that is a very real factor. And that's It's stressful. It's depressing. It makes me feel uncertain about things, makes me feel self-doubt. It makes me wonder if I can keep doing this or doing this at the capacity that I have been for a while here. My most recent narrated adventure, Trials of the Neophyte, did not get very many views, did not get the sort of views that I had hoped for, and the associated Kickstarter for it didn't work out. So that was really rough. I want to be clear that what this video is not is a pity party. That is not the way I was raised. That's not the standard that I have for myself. That is not my personal ethic. I'm not here fishing for pity from people or woe is me. And it is my personal principle to never use whatever hardships or sufferings that you have as an excuse for a victim mentality, or even worse, as an excuse to seek out revenge upon the world or upon other people. So that is not what this video is about. But those are some examples of how this year has really been a rough one. It's been a damn hydra that I've been grappling with and trying to beat back into the underworld. What to do with my channel? I really love my channel, and I have a deep bond with the channel and with the content and the work and with the people that I do videos with, and with you all, with the audience, the viewers, and those that have shown support for a long time, especially. What do? I mean, I want my channel to be thriving. I want it to be active. I want people to be engaged with it. I want the views to be up. I want to have a successful YouTube channel. That's important to me, and that's like a life goal or a priority of mine. So one thing I could do would be to see what's popular right now and to make that kind of content. I do watch a fair amount of YouTube, and I have a pretty good sense of what's popular right now in YouTube and just media in general. Reactions are very popular. Critiques, lots of critiques and criticisms, especially the more extreme ones, the hyperbole, the hot takes, and the rants and the takedowns, the destroys. There's a lot of pop culture elements or pop culture themes that are working even into my sphere, which is like role-playing games and fantasy and writing. They're becoming one and the same. Pop culture and commercialized media, hyper commercialized media, and role-playing games and fantasy. Those are ever more becoming the same thing, which is a bit weird for me, but that's the reality of it. And related to that is funny videos. That's somewhat related to it. And again, that's also really big in the D&D and the role-playing game sphere right now. Lots of very entertaining, funny videos, comedic videos. There are a lot of cheap jokes. I like doing humor, but I have a particular taste with it, or a specific taste with it. A lot of humor is cheap. It's easy to do. You take a thing and then you just mock it, or you take a thing and you just make it goofy. You make a goofy version of it, or you take a thing and you make this wacky and weird version of it. So it's like lowbrow comedy, or absurdism. So those aren't really my things, and that sort of comedy doesn't have a lot of long term. It can, but it usually doesn't have a lot of it's not associated with like long term value. It's more like junk food content or disposable content that people just consume and then move along. So those are not my inclinations. And if you haven't noticed, I'm generally not someone to jump on anyone's bandwagon. I'm not a bandwagon kind of person. I'm always feel like trends that come and go, and what's popular now, the flash in the pans of the moment. I'm always a bit skeptical, and I don't know. I like doing my own thing. And kind of going my own way. Yet at the same time, I have a real appreciation and connection with those works that do stand the test of time. And I have a lot of, I suppose you'd call them traditional values. And I like, classic fantasy. Sometimes I feel like I'm one of the few guys left that's actually really into classic fantasy and not making something that's goofy, or not making something that's absurdism, or not making something that's a modern agenda, deconstructing, just completely tearing down the great monuments, or the timeless works. That's probably part of the reason why my channel is not getting a lot of views, because I'm I don't know, have kind of an older fashioned, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like old fashioned, and sometimes I feel like I'm experimenting out ahead in my own way, and it's at once both more traditional and more avant-garde than the majority of things that are out there. I'm not quite sure I'm going with that, so put a pin in that. I want to talk about criticism. So, I've done a lot of videos that critique Dungeons and Dragons. I critique some other things too, but let's talk about D&D. That's a big chunk of my content. So, yes, criticisms and takedowns are really big right now. And I do have quite a bit of like monster rankings, for example, or class option rankings, where I do have a lot of criticism, and I have my gripes and things that I try to point out where they're not really, where I don't think they're working well in the game. But balance is a big thing for me, and I'm not here just to tear something down. I also, at the same time, always make it a point to talk about the good. I got to have the good, along with the bad, the good as well, the positive along with the negative, what I think was done well or exceptionally well, and point out the great things that I love about it. Because I really do love D&D, and I really am grateful to be part of this community. So it would be very difficult for me to make content that is just completely dogging on something and just trying to completely tear it down. But it's more than that, or maybe we could even say it's worse than that. There's a complicated nature with criticism. If you criticize too much, then you too are subjected to the same level of criticism. It makes me think of the part from the Sermon on the Mount when Christ says that you are going to be judged in the same way or to the same level that you judge others, and the measure that you use against others is going to be used to measure you in the same way. And you're a hypocrite if you look at your brother and you say, hey, you've got this speck of dirt in your eye, or you've got this splinter in your eye, but all the while you have a whole plank of wood stabbed into your eye. And so, it's hypocritical. And look, I understand that you might not be Christian. You might not even be religious at all. But this is timeless wisdom. You have to see it for that and appreciate it for that. How ridiculous do you look if you've spent your career, criticizing, let's say, games or movies. And then you go and make a game or a movie, and you just end up with the same flaws in your own creation. So people are just going to criticize you in the same way that you criticized others. And it's probably going to be worse so, because they're going to note how you're a hypocrite, or at the very least, you're like incompetent to overcome the very flaws that you have pointed out and griped and bitched about for so long. When I made my D&D book that I mentioned, Esper's Emporium of Esoterica, part of the reason why it took me so long, other than it just being a gigantic tome, but a big part of the reason is that I wanted to make damn sure that I walked the walk of actually improving upon those elements that I have always talked about in my videos that I wished were better, improved upon the problems that I perceive in D&D. I wanted the monsters to have unique, interesting abilities instead of these kind of same overly simple and generic features. And I wanted the lore to have personality and style and poetry and lead to adventures and storytelling, not just these kind of forgettable paragraphs that talk about kind of more simple or mundane things. I wanted the class options to have depth and replay value and do unique things and to stand up to the highly powered spellcasters. It took a lot of work and creative energy to produce this book. It's a really big book. And I am really pleased with the outcome, and I'm really happy with all of the artists that worked with me, that I commissioned for the book. I think it's a work that we should all be proud of. But due to how time-consuming it was, that did hurt my productivity in making YouTube content. So that is part of the reason why the channel has slowed down some over the last couple of years and contributed to the current situation that I'm in, where I'm frustrated and dissatisfied and uncertain and have some self-doubt. So yeah, I do some critiquing and reviewing, and that's fine, and I do like that to an extent, but I want to create. I don't want to be a critic. I don't want to just critique other people's work. I'm really not primarily a critic or a reviewer. First and foremost, I'm an artist. That's what I am. I write and tell stories and design and draw and do digital art. I make a bit of music. I'm a creative. I'm a creator. That's what I am first. I've always been that since the day I was born. Second, I'm a sort of coach or guide or mentor or teacher. I help people learn, and I encourage and support people. And when I'm called to be a leader, I try to be a good leader. And then, it'd be like the third place that I'm a critic or a reviewer or an editor. And it is a role that I do take up, and I do have some true interest in it. But it's not my primary calling. It's not even my secondary calling. I want like in this ideal world, and maybe this is just a fantasy, but what I want to do is I want to create and devote the majority of my work to doing that, to creating, to trusting in my creative ideas, to embracing the inspiration that comes to me so much. But then reality smacks me, and something like Trials of the Neophyte happens, where I spend a very long amount of time producing it. I spend a lot of money on it. I spent over $2,000 on illustrations and art for it. And the views are just so low. They're so low. And So I'm going to be honest here, okay? I'm just going to get some thoughts out loud. This is not necessarily what I fully believe, but these are thoughts that pass in my head, just so you can have an idea. So I stumbled upon a YouTube channel recently from a YouTuber named Jenny D, and I took a look at her back catalog. Can I call that her video history? And she's actually been making YouTube content for many years, but started doing D&D stuff sort of recently. Looks like within the past 2 or 3 years, she's become more active with D&D content. Prior to that, it was more cosplay and some music. She sings. She sings very well, in fact. And she has this recent video where she talks about solo D&D, solo adventures. And there's this sequence in the video where she does this kind of solo narrated adventure that's not terribly different from what I have long done in my narrated adventures, what I did with Trials of the Neophyte. Her video is, it's a shorter video. It's very well produced. So I'm sure a lot of preparation went into it, but it is a shorter video. It's a more, it's kind of the adventure sequence, the solo adventure sequence is kind of like a romp. It's fun. It's light, whimsical. It's a light, whimsical romp. And the entire Trials of the Neophyte that spanned 18 episodes in several months and just so much time and effort and money, total, I got like 50,000 views. And then her video has over 500,000 views. Just really quick, I went to sidebar. I just want to pause. I'm not criticizing Jenny D here at all. She has developed a brand, and she's tapping into success, and I think that's fantastic. And as a general rule, I always try to be supportive of and collaborate with my fellow YouTubers. And I think being genuinely happy for people and celebrating other people's success is a far better mode of being than being a resentful or envious person. So this really is not about Jenny D, and I'm not criticizing her. And I'm also not saying that she's, been influenced by me or she got that idea from me. That's not what I'm saying. So just had to get that out of the way. But it's more my own thoughts that are going through my head. And I'm like, where the hell did I go wrong? Where did I take a wrong turn at Albuquerque? What am I doing that is so off the mark? Is my content just not actually that good? Do people just not actually like me that much? Am I not expressing myself correctly? Because, sometimes there's a difference between what you are envisioning in your head or even hearing in your head versus what other people are hearing. And you might be coming across wrong or coming across in a way that you don't intend to come across. I have to get these thoughts out, guys. Okay, please bear with me. Sometimes these thoughts will come into my head, and I think I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've been dedicating myself so much. Just the amount of sacrifice and effort and time that's involved. Especially when it comes to long work hours and all the editing and writing and the money that I'll invest into certain projects. As best I can tell, as far as I've ever been able to tell, I'm the first D&D YouTuber. I started in August of 2009. There might have been someone before that, but I haven't found them. I don't know. I'm certainly one of the first. But no one really seems to care about that, or is the audience is like fickle, that doesn't matter to them. There's a The world has a kind of neutrality to it, a kind of impartial, or even in a way callousness to it, and you can't take that personally. People have their own lives, their own issues they got to deal with, and life is very complicated, and there's a lot of things competing for everyone's attention. That's just how the world is, and you can't expect the world to just bend to your desires and whims. That is narcissism, or it's some sort of sick variant of ego. But that can be harsh. It can be cruel at times, the way the world is just sort of indifferent in a way. Maybe I really do need to step up my game. I really do need to make higher quality content in some sort of way. What am I going to do with my channel? That is the question. What am I going to do? Well, there's many things that I could do. I'm not giving up on it. I'm going to also stay within the realm of what Esper the Bard is. D&D, RPGs, fantasy, writing, design, what you all know as the channel. I don't want to make content that is too far out of the scope. Maybe I would create a second channel if I just feel a ton of inspiration and see a great opportunity for different types of content, but that is very much just a maybe at this point. In general terms, what I want to do with my channel is I want to bring more balance between creating videos that are for others and videos that are for me. That's not a great way of saying that. I don't know how else to say it, so I hope you get what I mean. Some videos, and more videos probably, need to be made to reach people where they are, to be mindful of the audience when I make them, and not just completely go down the rabbit hole of my own geeky ideas. Not that I'm going to sacrifice the authenticity or do things that I don't want to do or that I don't like. I'm never going to become false. But everything with balance, right? If I never think about the audience and I become disconnected with what will help people, with what people want, with what people's tastes are, if I become completely disconnected, then, I'm just falling into the well of myself or the pit of myself. And I don't want that, because this isn't just about me. It's about me and you. It's about a community. I really want to create things that inspire other people, or that motivate other people, or that provoke thoughts. So that's really what gives me satisfaction. And then along with the videos that are maybe more accessible is the right way to put that, here are my kind of pet projects. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty at this time. This has been helpful for me to get some of these thoughts out. Thank you very much for listening to this. And please do feel free to put any suggestions or constructive criticism. It would be very helpful for me. If you have any constructive criticism, or even just harsh criticism, go for it. Put it down in a comment. I'm going to read it all and be taking this into consideration, keeping this in mind as I'm moving forward. Got some new videos coming soon. Got the new Eldritch Castle narrated adventure coming up just next month. That should launch here in about 2 weeks. And I do feel excited and inspired about things to come, despite the obstacles and the slaps in the face and the blows and the pitfalls. The orcs have kicked my ass, but they have not slain me. So I have made a tactical retreat. I am currently healing up and formulating a new strategy, and I will be delving back into the dungeon. So that's all I got for now. I'll see you all in a new video sometime soon. As always, my brave companions, may your adventures be many.